So what are three things you want people to know about neurodiversity?
I guess most are that people who are neurodiverse can't maybe hold a job basically because their brains don't necessarily function the same way that everybody else's does. So maybe their thinking might be a bit slower, or they might have difficulty grasping onto things. But clearly, as Sandra and Mackenzie, especially because he's going for his postdoctorate, we are capable of, having jobs and holding jobs, which, as well as other people who are neurodiverse, that that we, generally speaking, that we are different than everybody else, which is not necessarily true. We still can be functioning members of society. We can still get married, have kids if we want. We still have relationships with other people. We still have friends, and we still keep in touch with, even if it's over Zoom or any other app like FaceTime or Skype or anything else like that. And we still have interests like everybody else. We still like to go out. We still like to travel. We still like to go to concerts. We still basically like to do things that everybody else does, which, contrary to what people might think, people who are neurodiverse, we can still do these things. That's about it.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. So when we think of neurodiversity, I want people to remember that just because people are neurodivergent doesn't mean that they're really all that different. So they may think differently, they may respond to things differently, but really the neurodivergent people have the same needs and wants as anyone else. And it may be that they may trend toward the nerdy, but they may not. There's a wide variety of people on within neurodiversity, from autism to Asperger's to schizophrenia to ADHD to many different mental health challenges. And so one of the other things to remember is that when you're talking to someone who is neurodivergent or who is representing neurodiversity, get to know them a little bit and see what perspective they are representing. So as I mentioned yesterday, in the last segment, was that one of the things I mentioned is that I can't speak for nonverbal autistic people. I can't speak to their experience, nor would I want to speak to their experience. I think that they can speak for themselves, and that we should give them that voice to do so. I can represent my own experience and experience of people in a similar position to myself, but I don't represent the entire autism spectrum per se. So the key for neurodiversity is diversity. Neurodiversity is quite wide. So I don't want people to assume that just you've heard from one neurodivergent person that they represent the entire spectrum of neurodiversity. And I guess the last thing is while people are different, and neurodivergent people are different from neurotypical or typically developing people, they can still be disabled by elements of society. We are primarily a face-to-face culture and society, and face-to-face communication can be difficult for many people on the autism spectrum. And so I don't want people to take away from me saying neurodivergent people are different, that they're not disabled in other ways, that they don't have disabilities and such, because people who are neurodivergent there are barriers there, and especially with neurodiversity representing a lot of invisible disabilities, there can be sometimes more barriers in some aspects of life that many people don't notice. It can be fairly obvious to people that people in a wheelchair have difficulty, can't get around on the stairs, for example. But but how do you adjust to someone who can't focus because of the buzzing from the fluorescent lights, or something like that, something that is not as obvious? So don't assume really, is sort of what it comes down to. Don't assume any sort of abilities or disabilities from a neurodivergent person without talking to them, because I'm sure that they will tell you if there are issues that they're having. Many, I'm sure, would be happy to discuss that. So just sort of talk to us. don't just assume. And I think that podcasts like this and other initiatives are at least a starting point for that.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer. So we have, we're actually going to wrap up now, but I have one quick question for both of you. And Sandra's already touched on this about, there's our next episode of What's the Difference podcast is going to be focused on fertility. And there's this myth that people with disabilities shouldn't have kids. And just quickly, both of your thoughts. I think we already got from Sandra, but Sandra, if you want to say anything further on that.
Well, I just think that people with challenges can have kids. It might be more difficult for them. They might need extra help. But that doesn't mean that they can't have kids. I mean, like Mackenzie, for example, has a son who's over 2 years old, who's functioning, who has two parents that love him and that take care of him. And other people as well are capable of having kids as well, who have, who are neurodivergent and have challenges.
Exactly. And I guess, Mackenzie, you can speak. You can tell us a little bit about your son, even. We've just got a few minutes before the Zoom limit cuts us off. So.
Well, so as Sandra said, I do have a son. He's 2 years and about 3 months now. Definitely, I think that people with disabilities and stuff are welcome to have kids. Yes, some elements of parenting might be more challenging, and depending on the nature of the disability, if it's something that's heritable, there can be more challenges down the line. But who's to back down from a challenge? If you want to have kids and you have the ability to care for them and the want to have them, then you should be allowed to. I don't think that disability is any particular reason to say no, you can't have kids. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But I think that your discussion next week, in the next segment or in the next episode, I think will be very interesting.
Yes, so we hope that you both tune in for that, because we're really looking forward to this episode. We've had it planned for a while. That'll be probably in about a month's time from when you're seeing this episode on YouTube. But thank you so much, Sandra and Mackenzie, for joining us today. This has been absolutely awesome. And thank you, Cynthia, for filling everybody's shoes this week with Stacy having moved on and Sama being unable to attend today, or over the past 2 days. So thank you so much, Cynthia, for all your amazing help today as well. This has been really good. And just everybody, if you want to speak to any of us, you know where to find us on Instagram, What's the Difference Podcast, Facebook, What's the Difference Podcast, and you can always email us if you want to appear on a future show, or if you have any questions for us, What's the Difference Podcast @gmail.com. We don't have a website yet. We're going to try to work on one soon. Everybody, thank you so much. Have an amazing day.